Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jobber Knocker New Japan podcast. My name's Conway. This is Dom. As you can see, there's no more split screen. There's no cool background. I'll just be honest, we're in the Boston Public Library. We are in their ENA lab. So I found out about this probably 2 weeks ago. I hit up Dom. I said, let's do one in studio together. And Dom said, let's go for it. So this is a test run of that. We're going to see how this goes. We're going to do an episode for you guys. And then depending on how this comes out, this might be our new home. Exactly. New location. Dom, we saw
new location.
New episode, new location. We got lots to talk. New beginnings. We got to talk about new beginnings. But we've got new beginnings here. Dom, I haven't seen you since we were at Revolution, AEW Revolution. Revelation?
About 3 weeks ago?
Something like that.
Yeah.
We went to Gillette again,
Awesome
which
time.
is always a good time.
Better show than expected.
Yes, definitely a better show than expected.
Little hibachi.
Little hibachi action.
Fucking awesome.
Water gun of the sake, that was fun.
Beautiful.
You didn't get into
I
that,
didn't
right?
get the sake.
No,
Yeah,
it was me and the dad.
Yeah.
Because we were paired with the family. It was like a dad, a mom, and like 3 kids. And like I did the sake.
You were the father.
The father did the sake, and I was like, "Let's go, Dad." And the guy had a water gun full of water for the kid.
kids.
I
So that was your first time with hibachi?
No. Teresa said no. Teresa said we had done hibachi before. I don't remember it.
I love it.
But I don't like fire, so it was like kind of a bit.
Gets a little close.
So
it's
it gets
a little in
close.
your personal
Yeah.
space.
Especially with that onion ring. I say onion ring, but
The
that
onion ring
ball
towel?
cone. Yeah. I was kind of expecting Teresa to get excited for the water gun full of water, like she'd want to do that, because she doesn't drink. You've been up to anything else?
Since then, honestly, no, man. Just, March Madness and, the
Your
run of
bracket,
WrestleMania.
your bracket busted?
Oh, bracket busted, parlays busted. Nothing worked. Nothing worked this weekend, but
Dude,
man, it was
I
good
did-
basketball.
I did 2 brackets, and I did horrible in one. I tend to do one with my heart, one with my head, even though I don't watch college basketball. The one I did with my heart is doing a lot better than the one I did with my mind.
What's the point total?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I got like 72% on the one with my heart, and I'm at like 27 with the other one.
72% with everything that's going on
Yeah.
is fucking awesome.
Drake screwed me. I had Drake going deep, I think.
Okay.
I think I had I had Arizona going deep. Arizona screwed me.
I was
had
on
Drake
Arizona.
going like 2 or 3 rounds. They screwed me. But Texas keeps winning, and that's all that matters.
That's right.
to me.
I
Hook 'em
saw your,
horns. Yep. Hook 'em horns.
You know what? I saw your post on Twitter about them, and they almost got upset, I think. And then I went to go tweet something, and I was like, oh, shit, that's Conway's team. And I literally deleted it.
Yeah. I've been a Longhorns fan since Vince Young.
Wow.
When I was really big into college football.
Man, he was so...
and I
That
don't-
bowl game was incredible.
with USC, yeah.
That was one of the greatest bowl games ever.
And then I just started to follow like everything when I pick my teams, because I'm usually a player guy. I pick my players and then support
Colt
whatever
McCoy
team.
was them too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I loved Colt
Me
McCoy,
too.
and then he had nothing in the NFL.
He pops up once in a blue moon,
Yeah,
gives you a little backup special, and then he's out.
Where was he?
He
was
just
somewhere
popped up in
recently.
the playoffs recently.
Yeah.
This year.
But yeah, and then I remember the Final Four was in New Orleans, and my mother was in Florida or somewhere. I think she had a layover in New Orleans, and she got me a Texas Final Four T-shirt.
I remember seeing the banner for that when I was down there. When
Yeah.
it was like 2011, maybe.
But,
2012. Yeah.
I don't have a full. I mean, I have again. The bracket I have going is my heart bracket, so I have Texas winning it all.
Beautiful.
And I'm like, not gonna happen. But it wasn't their last game; it was the game before. It was that first round matchup. They were just consistently turning the ball over, and I was just like, you guys can't do this in the later round because you're gonna get beat.
You're going to get smoked.
And I'm like, I'm getting nervous. But to the reason we're here,
Yeah.
New Japan. We haven't been.
A lot has happened since the
has
last
happened,
time we got
yes,
together.
because we did a Wrestle Kingdom recap, and that was before New Beginnings.
When was our last episode? Like a
It was
month ago?
something like that.
Okay.
It's been a while,
right.
but hopefully with this new home, we can be more consistent,
Absolutely.
especially if this post-production goes very well. But we'll start with New Beginnings. The biggest thing to come out of New Beginnings was, in my opinion, it was Hakaleo defeating Jay White in a loser leaves Japan match. And the Rumble had passed, and so we knew we know Jay White wasn't going to be there, which is great. Jay White still hasn't signed anywhere. He's taking his time. The other big thing to come out of there is that El Desperado, Minoru Suzuki, and Ren Narita defeated House of Torture for the never open weight 6-man titles. And I now with Doki, Taichi, Kanemaru, and Taka Michinoku forming a faction called Just Four Guys, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah. So that faction just happened.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
So that
Good to know.
That faction in El Desperado, Minoru Suzuki, and Ren Narita, which they've now dubbed their faction Strong Style. Those two factions have been the result of the Suzuki Gun split. That happened earlier this year. They had their go home show, essentially the show that Suzuki Gun's final match. But these two factions have been the split of that. We don't know where Lance Archer lies if he ever comes back to Japan.
He probably should. I haven't seen him on AEW television.
No, he did a dark, I think. But if Japan ever brings him back, and he's usually one of the favorites they tend to bring back, he might be by himself. He might be standing with Minoru Suzuki in Strong Style. Who knows?
Okay.
Hakaleo defeating Jay White. I was not surprised and surprised at the same time. Unfortunately, it's one of these things that New Japan does where they give, and we'll talk about this because it came up again in the New Japan Cup.
25 minutes. Jay White must have had his work cut out for him in this for 25 minutes with Hakaleo. Did you watch it?
I did.
How did he look?
Great.
Hakaleo?
It was great. It was a good match. It was the thing with Hakaleo is he's the same. To me, it's the same with Lance Archer and Braun Strowman more recently. They feel good and look good in their size.
Okay, good, because I felt like that was something that
sometimes
he was
with
lacking in.
sometimes with big guys they lack. They just look awkward doing wrestling things.
Yeah, absolutely.
He doesn't. Like I said, Lance Archer doesn't. Braun Strowman recently hasn't. So I mean, the thing is, and I like I said, we'll talk about this later with the first round matchups. They give Hakaleo this big win over Jay White, and then I don't think we've seen Hakaleo since. And it's just like you could have put him in the New Japan Cup, which we'll again talk about later. You could have put him in the New Japan Cup. You could have had him get a win or two in the New Japan Cup, kind of ride the wave of the Jay White wave.
Yeah, that momentum.
Cool.
They don't keep the momentum to rolling.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
What I will say that what I did like at the end of that match, or the conclusion of that match, Jay White's on his last legs. He throws up the too sweet. Hakaleo too sweets him back, and then I think it was a choke slam, and then that was it. And it was just like that moment you like.
See you later.
Yeah, it was a thank you.
See you down the road.
Yeah, exactly. The funny thing about that match is going into it, there was a lot of speculation that WWE had their eye set on Hakaleo, and I was just like,
wow.
I was just like, are the rumor mills just saying that because of it's a Hakaleo leaving Japan match too?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't hate him with Gallows and Anderson and AJ once everyone gets back to form.
Right, because
for him, I don't.
Because
you know what I mean?
like,
it's not a bad spot.
He's not part of, as far as I know, he's not part of the bloodline family. He's not part of that tree. So I mean, it's not like they would be bringing in another bloodline member.
Right.
But Hakaleo, again, he wins. He beats Jay White. Kazuchika Okada and Shingo Takagi main evented that show, and it was probably their best match.
Wow.
Singles one-on-one.
Doesn't even have a timestamp either.
32:07. And it was a really good match.
Sure it was.
I mean, that's not surprising to anybody, but nothing. New Beginnings in Osaka was a good show, but it wasn't.
And that was
anything
when was that?
Special.
January?
Yeah, that was at the end of January.
All right.
Yeah, New Beginnings in Osaka. No, it was February 11th.
Gotcha.
And then a week later, we went to Battle in the Valley in California. And that show was a very good show, I thought. The two big things coming out of that, well, actually three things, I think. Kenta defeats Fred Rosser for the New Japan Strong title, and I was kind of surprised because I don't think the thing is like they've not dissolved New Japan Strong, but they're changing the format of it. I think they announced what they were doing, I forget, but they changed the format of New Japan Strong. They dissolved the TV tapings. So I was like, okay, is Rosser going to win? And then are they going to have him, like, get rid of the title, like, retire the title,
Right.
whatever?
Because they get the tag titles, too.
Right, which are held by the Motor City Machine Guns.
Awesome. Right.
But no, Kenta wins. Kenta's been carrying around the New Japan Strong title. It might just become one of these floating titles.
So are they going to be done with TV tapings completely? There's going to be no physical...
Yeah, I think they're
format?
I think they want to I think they're just going to do more shows in America. I think that might be their goal.
Okay.
And to be honest, they don't always need to bring talent from Japan over. And
there's a Capital Collision coming, too.
Yeah, Capital Collision's their next show coming up over here, and but again, they don't need to always bring the best over here. I know it helps because it helps with ticket sales, but if you have like Fred Rosser,
That's what I'm saying. They make
you
these
have
guys.
Kenta,
Yeah.
you have Tom Lawler and his group, and you have you can bring in Eddie Kingston.
Doing a ton right now too, man.
Dude, Zach Saber's
he's
an MVP.
He's
right
kind of
now.
the face.
MVP right
Like
now.
I'm seeing him every time I turn on Twitter, man. It's like
Yeah.
Zach Saber. So
And then
he's an important key right now.
yeah, he is, and he's doing a lot with TMDK and Fujita, but you have Eddie Kingston, Homicide. You have, like I said, Tom Lawler and his good Fred Rosser. You can send Kenta over here because he's got the strong. You got the Motor City Machine Gun. So you don't really need.
You got a roster.
You got a roster. You don't really need to bring over.
I don't want to call it a B roster, but you do.
No,
you have that.
but you. I mean, you
have
don't.
that second slate show.
Yeah, you don't need to always
upcoming
bring over
stars.
Okada. Plus, you
Right.
got Mercedes Moné that you can do shows with.
Yeah.
So it's not like.
Yeah, the structure's definitely.
It's not like you're
undercard
going to
talent
be
is
hurting.
definitely building.
It's not like your ticket sales are going to hurt if you don't always bring somebody over. And sometimes, and this becomes New Japan's problem. Sometimes you send over El Desperado or Tomohiro Ishii or one of those mid-card guys, and you put them against Jon Moxley or Eddie Kingston or even a regular talent. And
When the second tier guys come over here and start losing consistently, I don't love that.
But not. It's not even that. Like sometimes they'll bring them over here. They'll have a very good performance, and then you get the American audience behind them. You get the American audience to very much enjoy their work, and then the American audience goes to Japan, or not goes to Japan, but watches the New Japan product, and they're opening or they're losing all the time, and it's just like
the other way with
and
that.
you're
That
like,
makes sense.
what are you doing? Like
I just saw this guy on Dynamite or
right, or even like I said, or you do the house shows or the big shows or whatever, and like that's, and I've said this to you before, like when Tomohiro Ishii went over into the UK, what was Rev Pro champ for a little bit, and was doing a lot to it. And the UK loves Tomohiro Ishii, and then he comes to Japan and he's doing the young boy matches and all that, and it's just like.
So that's a New Japan thing then, right?
That's a New Japan
if
thing,
these
yeah.
talents taking care of themselves elsewhere in other promotions and they're building,
And
and they come
everybody-
back to Japan, they
and
just
then
cut their
nothing,
legs off underneath them.
Yeah, it feels like it. Yeah, it's bizarre.
That is.
So that was Battle in the Valley. Mercedes Moné defeats Kyrie. There's no surprise there.
Right.
I think everybody expected that.
Pretty much. Yeah.
She's got a title match coming up against Stardom wrestler AZM. I'm not too familiar with AZM. I've watched her a few times. She's been entertaining, and that's
Where is that happening?
I think that's happening at Capital Collision, but I feel like I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I've not.
We'll bring up Capital Collision before.
But it's just like
Big shot there.
it's one of those things where it's just like this is what Mercedes Moné should do, and it's what Jericho did at the beginning of AEW. It's what
That's a good point.
I feel like a lot of people should be doing when new titles are introduced. It's probably what Zack Sabre Jr. is going to do by the end of his title run. Is you face people that a general audience isn't aware of, and you help build stars that way. And not to say AZM and Tom Nakano, who faced Kyrie, but not to say these people aren't stars, but they're stars in stardom, but you got to make them bigger stars and more broader stars. So that's what Mercedes Moné is going to be doing. I saw a report of after April, she has no more Bushido Road dates, which is the parent company of Stardom and New Japan. I didn't read into it because I don't believe it. Because I think that it might be one of those things where maybe not a per show, like an old TNA contract where it was like per show basis,
months,
but
right?
like, yeah, I think, and I was like, that's not going to be
Doesn't
her
sound
a
right.
short title. She's not going to have a short title range. She's not going to have an extremely long one, but she's not going to have a short one. I think it's one of those things where like, let's do X amount of shows, see how the relationship is, and then go from there. So it's one of those things where I think between Stardom and New Japan and Bushido Road, they're still trying to figure out how they want to proceed with their women's title. And that's kind of a bad look because you should have already had this ironed out before you got the title started.
That's putting a title on someone not knowing where you're going to end up after
Right.
the 4 months is up.
Right, and
I
it's like,
agree with that, yeah.
but at the same time, I think,
look what it did for the title.
right, I think at the same time, if you have a rematch between Kyrie and Mercedes Moné, and Kyrie goes over, it's acceptable, it's fine. I think you can also do a shock finish, a surprise finish, and have AZM win if you guys can't come to whatever the reason, and now you have AZM with that title, and you continue to build the title, but you can also use that as a launching point for AZM's rise to fame or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And it
it's not
builds-
that bad of a thing.
I mean, and Mercedes' credibility goes through the roof. Not that it wasn't already, but now,
Right.
like, she might, if that happens and she does dip, who's had a bigger impact within 4 months in
Right.
the wrestling industry?
Exactly. Battle in the Valley, and so the last big thing to come out of that show, Eddie Kingston defeats Jay White, loser leaves Japan.
So how does that happen after Hikuleo?
So here's the thing. It was Hakuleo versus Jay White was a loser leaves Japan, not loser leaves New Japan.
Wow.
So Eddie Kingston versus Jay White became
The company.
The company,
So he
yeah.
was out of the country with Hikuleo, out of
Right.
the company. Wow. I didn't even notice that.
So-
Sneaky.
and
But
that
good.
was fantastic. That was such a good match.
No shit.
Yeah, it was such a good match.
Good for Eddie.
Eddie gets the win there. Jay White goes, and then a very big surprise to me at least after the match. Jay White's going to give his goodbye speech essentially, and gets jumped by Dave Finlay. Dave Finlay and Jay White came up, I believe, at the same time through the dojo. And you can see you've seen the rise of Jay White and the kind of
Transformation.
up and down of Dave
Dave
Finlay. And you can make the case that Dave Finlay was almost a disappointment, being a third gen. I think he's a third generation.
We went into this a little bit in detail during like one of the cups last summer, and I mean, I
Yeah.
was on him because I knew of him, Finn Juice and Impact, but I didn't have that level of expectation
Yeah,
like
he was-
everyone else did, just because of his last name.
It felt like he would be a really good tag wrestler and then just dwindle out in the singles division. And I think a part of it is, I feel like he's got the look, but I've always wondered if there's a physical look missing with him. Not to say that, like, to be a wrestler you need to be shredded like Jay White, but I'm wondering if New Japan goes, well, look at Jay White, look at Dave Finlay.
Took the words right out of my mouth. He's stepping in the Jay White shoes.
Right, and that's what he said after attacking Jay White. He said, "I'm going to take everything from you." And what kind of made me laugh is he says, "I'm going to take everything from you," and I'm like, "Well, Jay White's leaving New Japan, so he has nothing left. So what are you really taking?"
His look.
Right, and
That's what I realized watching him last night.
And it was like he cuts this promo on he's going to take everything from Jay White because Jay White had it all, he had nothing, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, let's see where this goes, because now and this leads perfectly into Bullet Club, because Bullet Club now doesn't have a leader.
No leader.
So before we got to the New Japan Cup, I was like, okay, what are we gonna do here? What's the sequence of events? And I was talking with a friend of mine, and I was just like, well, maybe this is the time where Kenta takes the reins. Like, you have Kenta take the reins of Bullet Club. He becomes the new leader, and everything's almost right with the world.
Okay.
Maybe you have, as much as I hate to say this, maybe you have Evil in the House of Torture take the reins, and now you can move them up to a more prominent spot that nobody wants them in. Maybe you have, I was looking at it, maybe you have Bad Luck Fale finally take control, because
Wow.
he's
How
he's
does that
been
look?
the leader since the end. He finally, in my eyes, he finally gets a New Japan Cup win, but that's just me. He's not even
That's
in
right,
this
because
year.
he was the one. He's an OG, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that
he's
makes sense.
he's day one. It
Yeah.
was
Okay. That's
him,
right.
Anderson, Tamatanga, and Devitt. And I was like, okay. And I remember, I think it was during the CMML Fantastico program, somebody had asked El Fantasmo about taking over the Bullet Club. And he essentially said something to the effect of, he doesn't want it.
He's a great second guy. He knows that, and I think he knows that better than anyone.
I think he did. He made some funny remark about it, and I was like, okay, that makes sense.
He knows exactly what he's doing in his position, and he's gonna ride that way.
Yeah.
He should. And that's not a knock on him. He's come such a long way.
It's, and I was just like, okay, what's the, who's going to take the reins of the Bullet Club? I was like, can you go leaderless for a while?
So
I was like, do you want to kind of have a fight over it?
where does Chase Owens sit in all this, and granting someone a little bit of rub to say, hey, I think this is the guy?
So
Because he said something interesting during the semifinal match with Dave Finlay.
he's been great on commentary.
I
enjoyed him
was
on
on commentary, and he said to Finlay, he goes, you win this and you're in the club, or you win this and you're in. Win this for the club and you're in. He made a real weird comment to him.
So I
don't know if he's trying to tell us he's got some juice to be like, this is the guy. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting comment for him to make in the match while he was on commentary and interacted with Finlay.
Right.
That's,
I think
seemed like a big deal.
I feel like so. All right, so in the first round of the New Japan Cup, because we'll come back to the New Japan Cup, but we're talking about Bullet Club right now. Dave Finlay comes out for his match with Tomohiro Ishii. He's rocking his own Bullet Club shirt. It says Rebel Club. It's got the shillelaghs going across, and he comes out with Gato.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, we're not even letting this simmer or sit for a little bit. We're going right into it. Dave Finlay is forcibly, I think, taking the reins of Bullet Club. And what's weird, as I thought about it, was and I want to say outside of Devitt leaving, because I can't remember how Devitt left, but outside of Devitt leaving,
I think AJ took him out.
I can't remember if AJ took him out, because Kenny took out AJ.
I think AJ took out Devitt. I think. I've only watched clips. I wasn't watching
I
back
think
then.
AJ. I don't remember what happened between AJ and Devitt, but Kenny took out AJ, and then Jay White took out Kenny to some degree.
It was Cole.
Cole took out Skrull.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, I missed
Because
all that.
Cole, so that was a Ring of Honor thing.
That's why. Okay.
Marty Scurll and the Young Bucks were kind of the Bullet Club
Of Ring of Honor.
Ring of
Yeah,
Honor.
you're right,
And
sorry.
then
Go ahead.
at the Hammerstein Ballroom, I forget the name of the show. I forget what precisely happened, but there was this whole thing between, or was it Adam Cole taking out Scurll?
Oh, that's what you said. Yeah, you're right.
I can't remember who took out who, but whatever happened, somebody. Oh, it was Scurll taking out Cole because Cole went to WWE.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's what it was. And so, but it always felt like you
There
took
was a
out the
transition.
lead. Right.
There was that
but
transitional moment where
but
you're
at the
done now. I'm here.
Right, but
Yeah.
with the bizarre thing with that is, or with Jay White and Finley is, Finley wasn't Bullet Club. Finley was by himself.
So no one's
He
ever said, "Come with us." Like, is he just? Is he rogue?
So remember, there's a group of non-factioned guys,
Right.
and that's what Dave Finley was a part of. He was not in a faction.
So was it his connection with Juice Robinson and Finn Juice that kind of?
No, not even that. It was just, I feel like I feel like it was just maybe behind the scenes it was like, well, there's nobody really, maybe nobody wanted it in Bullet Club after talking to them. Maybe they didn't even discuss it with anybody. They said, this is the direction we want to go. Maybe Jay White says, I don't know.
Okay.
But Dave Finley jumps Jay White, and then he comes out the next time we see him essentially in the leader role of the Bullet Club. So to go back to your Chase Owens comment, maybe there's people that just went, all right, this is the new leader of the Bullet, whereas other people are like, whoa,
Hold on.
show us something first.
Right,
You know what I
which
mean?
makes sense because even watching it, I was like, "What is going on?" Like you said, he came out with the mouthpiece.
Right.
He was talking him up pretty heavy. So
Right. So first round, like I said, so Dave Finley took the Bullet Club, took Gato, and we're off and running with this. So and we'll get into this when we talk about Sonata as well, because there's been a big change with Sonata, but it feels like, and I said this about Sonata, it feels like with Dave Finley, this is like, I know how long of a window I would give him. That's different from New Japan's window, obviously.
Right.
But this is make it or break it. This is, okay, here's the ball. What are you going to do with it now? And I saw something on TikTok. Somebody was like, well, somebody was essentially asking, hey, is Bullet Club dead now? And it's like, well, that's an interesting perspective. But, like, I think that just like with I've said this before. Bullet Club will never be as big as it was. And I think New Japan understands that, nor do they expect that, because the global talent is not there anymore, besides Kenta.
Okay.
But I think that as long as Japan doesn't turn their back on Bullet Club, then Bullet Club's here for a while. Like, that's the thing is, like,
I think,
this,
like,
and sorry.
No, it's okay.
The other thing, too, is when during the Jay White era, there was a dead period for Bullet Club globally. And I think that
gap in between Kenny and Jay, I think, is huge.
And I think
if
that
they could have got through that.
Right, and I think this is now a wait and see of how is this going to go? What's this new Bullet Club look like? But people, and I think that, and this is for this goes across a lot of different things, but I think comparing to the past Bullet Club or Bullet Club Prime is now unjustified, because now, like, if you constantly compare to Bullet Club Prime, you're just gonna keep saying Bullet Club sucks, because there's no way you're gonna get Bullet Club Prime again, because the talent's never gonna be there again. You're not in the Kenny, the Young Bucks, Hangman,
Adam Cole. There's no reason for them outside of New Japan and AEW wanting to do something.
Right.
There's no reason they're going to come back to Bullet Club.
So I see what you're saying, but Jay White was a star. Like, he became a star.
Yes.
In Bullet Club. I think the biggest difference between him and everything you just said with Omega and the Bucks is his supporting cast.
Yeah.
It wasn't Jay White's fault. And you know me, I wasn't a big Jay White guy, but man, he became an absolute superstar as the Bullet Club leader. And he didn't have all that around him like Kenny did. He didn't have all the pomp and circumstance.
Right.
Like, he didn't have
Yeah,
that.
there was a lot of...
He handled it on his own, man. That was impressive.
Jay White had... I think, to me, Jay White, like, he had Gallows and Anderson for a little bit, but he had... The stuff with God was fantastic.
God was good.
His best supporting cast was El Phantasmo and Kenta.
Yeah.
And those are the two that Dave Finlay should rely on the most. And those are the two biggest stars of Bullet Club. And I'm saying that because I don't think Taichi Ishimori has been the star he was in Noah. And to be fair to Kenta, neither has he. So it's not like Kenta's essentially had a second career.
Yeah.
I feel like this Kenta and the Kenta of Noah are two different Kentas. But I think Kenta has since probably last year, has now refound his footing. Because I think after WWE, he was trying to find that footing. And I think last year, and especially after the Tanahashi injury, I think he's now starting to find his footing again. So that's only good for Bullet Club.
And the idea of David Finlay, like we're sitting here talking like he already is the leader just of everything they did in the last couple nights, right?
Yeah.
So like just the idea of someone being the leader of the Bullet Club, which he might not even be, they could just cut him loose, right?
Yeah.
But now they put him in that forefront, and all of a sudden it kind of just drapes him in something.
Yeah.
Like whether he becomes the leader or not, Dave Finlay's got something going on now. So that alone tells me that Bullet Club, the Bullet Club name, for now at least, to be able to do that for someone without even giving them the leader, in general.
Right.
They still got the juice, man. It sells juice, and it always will.
Yeah.
But you're right. They do need to figure a leader out. The next leader is very important.
I think I will say I do think the next leader is Dave Finlay.
Okay.
I think that's the route they're going to go, and I think that if I'm New Japan, I'm starting up a story where Jay White takes over as leader of the Bullet Club. Evil and the House of Torture have an issue with that. They want to take it over, blah, 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 whatever. And then we get to a point where it is it's Dave Finlay and the Bullet Club versus House of Torture, and maybe if Evil wins, then Dave Finlay's gone.
Dude, I did it the whole time watching this match, and we're going to get into that because I'm glad you're doing it. Seriously, because there's a reason for that's happening.
We get a point to where Evil goes, if Evil wins, Dave Finlay and his 3, because it would be 4-on-4, maybe Dave Finlay, Gato, just for the sake of what I said earlier, El Phantasmo and Kenta, they have to leave Bullet Club. If Dave Finlay wins, then House of Torture has to leave Bullet Club.
Okay.
And at that point, Dave Finlay gets the win over Evil.
And his win
establishes or cements, I should say, Dave Finlay as leader of the Bullet Club. And there's another way they could cement that, and we'll get into that. And then you have Evil and House of Torture be their own thing, no longer with Bullet Club. They are just their own thing, and all is right in the world because Evil's now away from Bullet Club forever. Okay. Fantastic! Get out of my club. But now for the meat and potatoes. Let's start. Sorry, did you want to finish something?
Where are we right now?
We're going to talk about. We're starting with the cup.
Okay.
We're going to go right into the cup.
Beautiful. All right, because
we're going to go through the bracket. We're going to go with round 1. I'm going to say all the first round matchups, and I want we know what's happened.
I mean, I looked in the bracket, but I didn't look at it.
I want you to tell me who you thought was going to win early. I'm going to tell you who I thought was going to win early, and then we'll go through it. So, round 1 had Sonata versus Taichi, Tetsuya Naito versus El Phantasmo, Ren Narita versus Evil,
Toru Yano versus Mark Davis. Yoshihashi. That was the first bracket with Kenta, Chase Owens, Jeff Cobb, and Will Ospreay all getting buys into the second round.
Wow.
And then the other half of the bracket was Yoshihashi versus Kyle Fletcher,
Yep.
Shingo Takagi versus Aaron Hanare, Dave Finlay versus Tomohiro Ishii, and Shota Umino versus Yujiro Takahashi with Hiroki Goto, Tama Tonga, Great-O-Khan, and Zack Sabre Jr. all getting buys into the second round.
Okay.
I had...
This is the first time I'm actually looking at this bracket and breaking it down. So just so you know, I'm on the fly with this, but I already see where
my
you're going.
finals, as an early look, was Taichi versus Shingo Takagi. I had Dave Finlay coming out of
That's a
that
bracket.
promo.
I wouldn't have seen him coming out of that bracket. I'll say that much.
I had Dave Finlay making it to the semis and losing to Shingo. And then, I had Will Ospreay in the semifinals losing to Taichi. It was weird because I was looking at this bracket and I was like, is there anyone that I was like, okay, Jeff Cobb, give it to Jeff Cobb. And then I was like, maybe Tonga, but he has the never open weight. I was like, maybe you have Shota Umino make a deep run here to the finals.
Shota and Zack Sabre. I wouldn't have seen Finlay getting out of either one of those guys heading down that that bracket. So I wouldn't have had Finlay winning this. It probably would have said Zack Sabre or Shota. Thank you. Coming out of that area.
Yeah. So let's get into the round one. Sonata beats Chi-Chi, so my bracket was broken right off the bat. We had Tetsuya Naito defeat El Phantasmo, Evil defeat Ren Narita, Mark Davis defeat Toru Yano, Kyle Fletcher defeat Yoshihashi, Aaron Hanare defeats Shingo Takagi as the upset. I think that's the absolute upset of the first round.
Hanare defeats Shingo? Yeah, 100%.
Dave Finlay defeats Tomohiro Ishii, and Shota Umino defeats Yujiro Takahashi. So that sets up the second round to be Kenta versus Sonata, Chase Owens versus Tetsuya Naito, Jeff Cobb versus Evil, Will Ospreay versus Mark Davis, Hiroki Goto versus Kyle Fletcher, Tama Tonga versus Aaron Hanare, Great-O-Khan versus David Finlay, and Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shota Umino.
Okay.
Before we get to those results, the first round was very good. It was great for the United Empire. All their guys won in the first round. Shingo, I want to talk about it when we can talk about the second round. But I said this to you during the G1, and I think I said this to you during the Best of Super Juniors. There's always that day one upset that destroys everything.
Yep.
And I'm like, and it felt, I think Aaron Hanare had the win over Tanahashi in the day one of the G1. So it seems like they're just like
Tanahashi lost the day one. Yeah, he did.
They're just like Aaron Hanare's our spoiler
Cinderella.
guy. And I'm like, all right, that's fine, I guess. Toru Yano versus Mark Davis was a fun match.
Mark Davis is just, he's wild.
Mark Davis is he on Twitter. He's Dunkzilla. He's just
He does some things in matches, and I'm like, at times he reminds me, like, I don't know, much better than him, but like the Anvil. Like the way he just barrel his body, like second rope shoulder blocks. Like, what, guy?
His sliding forearm to his seated opponent in the court, he was devastating.
Yeah, he does some wild stuff. But the more I see of him, the more I like him.
I want to talk about Toru Yano for a second. He needs to do something. Toru Yano, I'm just tired of, and I've seen this opinion on Twitter as well. But I've said this before about Toru Yano. We need something. We need something different.
That, I mean, and look where they put him too. Like,
he used to be a killer. Like, Toru Yano used to be he used to be so intense and so brutal in the ring, and now he's a joke guy. And I want to be clear, he's done a very good job at being that joke guy, but I don't think the Japan crowd cares anymore. He doesn't get the same reaction he used to get.
Okay.
So I don't know if you should be changing Toru Yano or just fading Toru Yano out.
Probably that, because you get guys like Ren Narita coming up. I probably would have had him going deep.
Vegeta,
You
I
had
Vegeta.
I had Yumino going deep. All the guys that the spotlight was on
you.
the last time we had, and we said like we felt like that change was
Yeah,
coming, right?
it's
Young talent. I felt like this would
Umino,
have been.
Vegeta.
That's probably where I would have went
Narita
if I
and,
looked at this before it started.
There's another guy. I forget his name. And he's jacked as all hell. But it's just, yeah, I think I understand that the crowd likes to see Toru Yano, but at the same time,
There's
like,
only so much of that.
yeah, I think he's getting to the point where he's just like everyone's getting done with him. Moving on to the second round, we have Kenta losing to Sonata. Actually, before we get to the second round, Taichi and Sonata. Taichi kept and they got, and thanks New Japan commentary for doing this. They were Taichi was calling out Sonata for being like he didn't feel into it. He didn't like, where's this passion? Where's the Sonata we all know? Like, essentially calling Sonata out.
So this cup's built around
it was
the transformation of Sonata.
And we'll get to that, but yeah, it felt like Taichi was trying to awaken something in Sonata.
Okay. Wow.
And he got.
I like that, though.
That was a great story.
I like
in
that there's
that
a story flowing throughout the tournament with him.
Yeah. Sonata defeats Kenta. Chase Owens loses to Tetsuya Naito, setting up an LIJ quarterfinal between Sonata and Tetsuya Naito. Evil defeats Jeff Cobb and
don't love that.
Wasn't too thrilled about
Don't
that
love
one.
that.
Every time Evil starts to do well, I get nervous because I've said this multiple times. Evil is liked in spurts, but the second he's a focal point, the crowds back off. The crowds don't want it. And I don't know if that's tired of the shtick with House of Torture, because there was a lot of gaga in that match with Ren Narita.
Okay.
Like, there's a point where Ren Narita's looking for a submission. Evil's got Red Shoes pulled down, and he's waiting for Jado to get involved. Mm-hmm. And it's like taking forever. And like the crowd's not into it anymore. I just think that there's the crowd's like starting to.
Is more of a lot of outside interference? I think
it's just a lot. Yeah, I think
they're overdoing it, saturated.
Yeah, I think it's just getting to a point where it's just like, no, thank you.
And the flip side of that is, like, had Jeff Cobb losing here, you just lost Jonah, right, to WWE.
Yeah. Now
Jeff Cobb is your big monster.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
He should be showing out here.
Yeah, he should.
I would think.
Yeah, I wasn't too much of a fan of that.
I don't love that.
Will Ospreay defeats stablemate Mark Davis. That match was fantastic.
I gotta check that one out.
That was a great match.
Is that where he gets injured?
That is where he gets injured. Will Ospreay gets injured. He originally got taken off a show because they weren't sure of the severity of it.
Yeah, right shoulder. His arm in a sling, so right shoulder.
And then
an elbow maybe.
It was announced that he would have to withdraw from the New Japan Cup. Mark Davis took his spot.
Okay.
So Mark Davis ends up moving on to face Evil. Hiroki Goto defeats Kyle Fletcher. Tama Tonga defeats Aaron Hanare.
Did Goto defeat Fletcher before Will Ospreay gave Mark Davis his spot? Like, were they both? I guess were they both out of the tournament? Is what I was trying to ask there. When Ospreay made his decision,
I'm not sure.
Okay. Sorry, got it.
It was it was a mix of Will Ospreay's decision and New Japan's decision.
Gotcha. Okay.
Tama Tonga defeats Aaron Hanare, and as much as I love it, then why do we have Shingo get upset?
Why do we have Shingo get upset?
It's one of those things that,
right,
like,
the Hanare effect.
I understand you need the upset to happen. I understand that that's what you want because you want to add some spice to the first round.
But
But,
then
like,
the lackluster
it's like-
matches moving forward for taking
It was
Shingo
like-
out for that move.
Right,
just to-
it's like
just to
I'd rather have no
eliminate an
upsets.
IRA.
I'd rather have no upsets and have Shingo versus Tamatanga, unless you don't want to do Tamatanga versus Shingo because you don't
But
want
you
either to
holding off
lose
on
or
it?
no. It might be a holding off. It might be a they don't
like
want.
you said, in cups like this, it doesn't
Yeah.
translate after.
Yeah, it's and that's the unfortunate thing
Don't take
for
that
Aaron
away from us
Hanare.
at New Japan. Stop taking
Like-
those things away from us. Right.
Dave Finley defeats Great O'Khan. Great. We're new leader of the Bullet Club. Fine. He needs it. You know what I mean? And then Shota Umino upset Zack Sabre Jr. In my opinion, I say upset, but I don't think it's. I think it's like going back to the college, the March Madness. It's not
That's like
a-
an 8 and 9, or those mid brackets.
I think it's
that,
I think it's like a 7 defeating a 4.
something like that. Exactly. Right.
It's not a huge, massive upset, but it's just enough.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt Saber really, and it's still Shota's still.
Yeah,
fucking
it's
rising, right.
like you're like, oh yeah, Shota Umino is capable and is good. Yeah, he's good enough to beat Zack Sabre Jr. So like I said, it's not a major upset.
Great win.
But it's just like, yeah, it's a good win. It's a little bit of a
format.
shocker. I don't know how many people had it, but yeah. Moving on to the quarterfinals, and probably the biggest,
So we'd see
one of the
Finley.
biggest stories coming out of the New Japan Cup, even though it's not over yet. Sonata defeats Tetsuya Naito, and then after the match, Sonata leaves LIJ and joins Just 4 Guys,
Holy shit.
turning it into Just 5 Guys, which I was surprised isn't copyrighted, but hey. But
Brilliant on that part. Because once they said it, I was like, bang, there it is.
after the match, Sonata said, essentially what it boiled down to was that he said, I don't know how much more I can get out of LIJ. I need a new, I forget what he said, but it was like, essentially he needed a new outlook. Yeah, and what's funny is like, he essentially boiled it down to like almost LIJ being holding him back or whatever.
Right.
And then Tetsuya and I was like, Shingo's been champion twice. He's constantly in the main event. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like Naito was just like, all right, that's kind of bull, but all right.
So just so you know, like, I know we're getting into it, but I saw all this watching it backwards
Yeah,
with Sonata.
Yeah.
Which was wild.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
but so and I was talking about this to Teresa a little bit. I was like, Sonata came, and I said this on Twitter too. Sonata came into New Japan with a lot of fanfare. He was coming from All Japan Pro Wrestling, I believe. He was a student of Muda, so like there was a lot of. It felt like when he arrived. All right, so we're back. We had a battery issue. Battery's here, but we're plugged in, so we're good to go for the rest of this. So we were talking about Sonata, his win over Tetsuya Naito, and then him leaving LIJ to join Just 4 Guys to turn it into Just 5 Guys, which I really want somebody to parody a shirt.
I think
Just 5 Guys, burgers and fries.
Unbelievable.
It's got to happen. If not,
It's a big ball
any
drop.
art design people, I'll get that shirt made. But he said like I was saying before, he said, there's no more.
He hit
The
his
ceiling
ceiling.
in
He hit
LA.
his ceiling,
Yeah.
right.
And again, it was just funny to me because Naito was just like, Shingo's won championships.
Shingo's
What are
done.
you talking about?
Yeah.
So Sonata joins Taichi, Doki, Kananobu, and Takemishinoku. So
Okay.
my feelings on Just 5 Guys, or Just 4 Guys now, Just 5 Guys, was Taichi was the leader. Taichi was gonna be the guy that should be main eventing all the time. I feel like Taichi has always had this stigma of, and Hiroki Goto had it for a while, where he should just always be the next top guy.
Mm-hmm.
He should have already been IWGP champion, blah, 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 all that stuff. And like Yoshinobu and Doki almost beat Catch-22 for the IWGP tag titles.
Okay.
So like you have a established junior heavyweight tag. Taka Michinoku's majority of the time just going to be the mouthpiece and the manager, which is fine. He looks good in his role.
I mean, yeah, I'm always down for anything Taka's involved in. Like, it's
But now with Sonata joining the group, Taichi almost has to take a back seat, and so this is again just like with Dave Finlay. I think this is make or break for Sonata. Like I said before, Sonata came into New Japan with a lot of fanfare, a lot of pop and circumstance, and like he's been a IWGP Tag Team Champion. He's won this. He's held the 6-man titles. So I think with Sonata, has he held any singles titles? I don't think so in New Japan. So he held the United States Championship once, but like, what is that really? You know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those things that like, Sonata needs to. This is it. This is a make or break time for Sonata, and just like with Dave Finlay, I feel like you have a year, 2 years to do something, and if you don't, what was the point really?
Right.
Well, the point is a new lease on life and a new, and I say new eyes, and what I mean by that is like the audience sees you in a new way, new like all that stuff.
Which is Sonata. I mean, so the quarterfinals, that happens, right?
Yes, that happens in the quarters. Yes.
Then do you want to get right into his next match?
No, let's continue through the quarters,
All right.
because the quarters see Mark Davis defeat Evil, which I was happily surprised with, because I thought after seeing Sonata win, I thought we were going to get Evil and Sonata again.
Layup, right.
But giving Mark Davis the win there, I thought was a good look, because I think that it almost makes it makes Ospreay's choosing of Mark Davis seem the right one.
Absolutely, and it shines a little light on him too, because not that he was getting lost, but like it seemed like Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher were, kind of the focal point of United Empire. I don't know. Maybe that
to me, it was Ospreay and Cobb.
Okay.
Because Cobb's been calling out Kenny Omega for the United States title.
Gotcha. See, I didn't see that. Okay. Either way,
it always felt like when it comes to United Empire, it felt like it went Ospreay, Cobb and Great O'Khan kind of trade, and then Aussie Open as a tag team,
right.
And then Aaron Henare.
Yeah, you still got TJP in there.
Oh,
right?
and sorry, and you still have Catch 22.
Yeah.
Sorry, so that's
they're loaded.
So yeah, they
and
are.
Mark Davis, no offense to him, like low man on the totem pole. So
as a singles wrestler, yeah,
100%.
But him
this kind of just levels up everyone. The tag team, the United Empire, and Aussie Open.
Yeah, it was a great.
It's a great move.
A great showing by the United Empire in this New Japan Cup. Hiroki Goto falls to Tama Tonga. Okay, it's okay. I kind of expected that.
Yeah.
Like,
I always expect Tama Tonga to show out and end up at least in the semifinals. Always.
Dave Finlay defeats Shota Umino, and
that's a big win.
That's a big win. Yeah, it is. No, it is, because I think a lot of people had Shota Umino.
The last time I saw him, I expected him to.
But I think, again, we've been talking. This almost has been a theme since we started talking about it. Dave Finlay needs to win, because Dave Finlay needs to establish.
So they built Shota to get Dave Finlay this win?
No, I think that this showing by Shota Umino gives him good reason to face Zack Sabre Jr. for the New Japan TV title, and I think it helps Shota in the eyes of the fans, because
as long as there's direction for him after a loss like that.
Yeah, and I think it's a good showing, because the thing too is if Shota could have lost at any point and it would have been acceptable, and it would have been fine. Yeah, but to get those wins, and then I think that's a good. It's a good. The New Japan Cup to me has always been about giving guys that don't have a big spotlight a bigger spotlight than they normally get. Mm-hmm. You can use it like they've seemed to do this year. Make stars from it.
or help build stories and stars that they're so.
This tournament feels very structured. At least the last couple.
It feels like
Since
the
we come
thing
into
with
this
the New
year.
Japan Cup is, in my eyes, that like you give it to people that you want the crowd to. You use the New Japan Cup to help people that have fans, and those fans want to see those people do good.
Mm-hmm.
You use the New Japan Cup to help
Grow
push that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think
Water
they did
those
that
seeds.
fantastic. Right.
Thank
So now we're in the semifinals. Sonata versus Mark Davis. Tama Tonga versus Dave Finley. I'm having an anxiety moment right now because I don't know if I hit record or not. So while I check, tell me your thoughts on Mark Davis versus Sonata.
Awesome. Better than I expected from Mark Davis in a solos match because I've never seen him in a singles match. So, I mean, everything, man. It was just hard hitting. Like these guys went at it. There was a spot outside into the barricade that was just reckless and just controlled chaos between the two of these guys. And I probably got ahead of myself and buried the lead. But can we talk about the quarterfinals? Everything you said with the just 5 guys. He enters that stable. He comes out. Sonata comes out to that match with a brand new entrance.
Yep.
A brand new look.
Yep.
And they get in the ring, and even the commentary was like, new entrance, new look. And they were telling me,
Right.
you missed this.
Right.
This wasn't him. And I didn't know what happened. When I
that's a
said
great
watching
story.
it backwards, I didn't know all that happened
Yeah.
just the night before. I thought he came into the tournament.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's a great job by commentary. Kevin Kelly, and I forget who's on commentary with him, but they do an amazing job.
Chase Owens was there. I don't know if he was there for that match.
Chase Owens does a few at times, but
Yeah,
there's
I
one
don't know
guy
who the
Kevin
other
Kelly is with, and he translates Japanese.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. I love Kevin Kelly. I've
So
always loved
Kevin Kelly
He's
is
the man.
incredible. He can do it by himself. Like, very few people could do a match.
What did you think of Sonata's look?
Classic.
Really?
100%. Now, this is me. Like I said, I'm not a fan like you, right?
Yeah.
So if they did something for me that made me go, as soon as I was watching it, wow.
Yeah.
Like, and this is where New Japan's production, not that I'm heavy on it, not that I'm low on it. This one felt like a home run because he comes out, haircut, the new top on,
Yeah.
and they hit the lights and they put a spotlight on him.
Oh, yeah.
Go back and watch that, and the hard cam was right in his face.
Yeah.
And the way the spotlight hit, it was this classic, like for me, like almost like 90s retro.
Right,
The
right,
way
right.
they did this, and I was like, oh, so you want me to look at this kid? You want me to look
There's-
at Sonata right now and think? I immediately think like 90s New Japan.
Yeah, there was.
That's what I felt.
So
when
yeah,
they
there was
showed
a
him
very
like that, and
so.
I was like, holy shit.
I saw it. I saw a picture of it before I watched the match, but I saw it and I went, I don't know how I feel about the brown hair, and then.
So you
and
saw it
then
as a
that
photo,
was-
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but the thing was
I
was
tried
like,
sending
well,
you a picture of it because it didn't look the same on a photo.
What's funny is like everything on Twitter about it was like the brown hair is weird, the brown hair is weird, the brown hair is weird.
Really?
But it's real. But the thing is like what you have to understand is that like forever since he's gotten to New Japan,
Yeah.
he's been blonde with either the peppering, like that pepper look that he had, where it was like
And the
blonde
fact
and
that it
brown.
happened within 24 hours
But he
is
was like,
it's a
he
shock.
was like, or
Wild.
he had like this
Whole different
massive
guy.
blonde mohawk.
Yeah.
And like, so like to see the brown was just jarring and unexpected in a good way.
I
'Cause
thought
that's
so.
what you want
It
with
got
this
me,
character
man.
change. You need something drastic. You need something.
That was the
because if
first
you
time
come
New
out,
Japan did it.
because if you move from LIJ to just 4 guys and you don't change anything about Sonata, it's
What
like
are we doing?
how seriously? Yeah, what are you doing? How seriously is this being taken? Blah blah blah. But he, like you said, new top, new, and I agree with you. It did feel very
Classic.
classic. It felt very like I understand what you mean about the New Japan, but I think it was just across the board on how Japanese wrestling in the 90s and 2000s was filmed.
That's what it,
It was
looked
very
like.
that straight on, like WWE has that straight on
Mm-hmm.
walk back, AEW has that blah blah blah, and like New Japan does too. They
They
kind of do
held
it
it
from
there
a
for, like, that
but-
split
but
second,
it's
didn't
just-
move it.
But I felt like it was more zoomed.
It
than
was.
AEW and WWE.
They were sending a message
They
with
want
that
you to
shot.
get that whole, like the American wants you to get that whole picture, but this was
This was
just
a
like,
headshot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially with the spotlight.
I'm glad I
after.
watched that last night before we did this because it felt like a game changer.
So Sonata beats Mark Davis.
In a great match.
Great match. I don't think anyone had Mark Davis winning, and that's nothing against Mark Davis.
You know why?
But I think
the setup.
Yeah, I
There's-
think
there was no
there
reason
was-
for us to
right,
leave
exactly.
Monte, and I was upset that match went on last. Did it went
No,
on last, right?
I
Didn't it?
believe so, but I think it was the right call. I think.
Yeah, but like coming into him, like there's no reason for him to win this match, knowing what just happened with Sonata.
Yeah, it
Like,
was
he
Sonata.
was-
Yeah, Sonata and Mark Davis main evented.
Yeah,
I was upset it only went 13 minutes and 20 seconds compared to Dave Finley defeating Tama Tonga in 1847. But at the same time,
I think that's more of a Mark Davis thing, and that's not a knock on him. I just don't think he's at that 20-minute.
No,
mark
I-
for himself
I
in
think-
a singles match.
you're right. You're probably right.
I see him
just
run out
think,
of gas
to
in
me,
tag
it was,
teams sometimes.
It was to me. It was just like I don't think. To me, my thought was like, oh, it's a main event thing. To me, it was if you're gonna have a main event, it should at least be 15 minutes.
That's why I think it should have went on middle.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like it should have been here, but story needed it to be here
Because of
You know what I
Sonata's
mean?
transformation.
Right, exactly.
Like, yeah, they kind of painted themselves in a little bit of a corner there, but
Right.
it still worked out for them.
Like I just said, Tama Tonga loses to
David Finley,
in.
Jay White Light. I did it the whole time I was watching the match. You know how
Yeah.
many times I almost texted you Jay White instead of Chase Owens?
Yeah, he.
What are we doing here?
You mean Dave Finley?
What I just said?
Chase Owens.
Jay Owens?
Too many. Too many white guys in Bullet Club.
Well, I mean, they made him look. I mean, physically, when you're talking about like body type, he starts hitting that weight room, man.
Yeah, Dave. So
The charisma isn't quite there, but
Dave
they're just
Finley
looking for a
defeating
carbon
Tama Tonga
copy.
is a good win for Dave Finley. It's a great win for the story. Our finals are. I'm very torn on these finals because they are both very story driven.
They did a great job of building this finals.
This is
throughout
it's the
tournament.
best built to finals I
It's
think in a
within
long
tournament.
while. Yeah.
and that's anywhere. That's
Yeah.
any tournament I've watched within wrestling. Like,
So,
whew.
I think, like, and I want to be very clear about my thoughts on Sonata. I've never liked Lij.
Okay.
It's just kind of I've never liked anybody in that group. They've never really done anything for me. But I like Taichi.
Okay.
I like Taka Michinoku. I enjoy Kanemaru and Doki. I think so. I'm like, okay, I like so Sonata. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna start liking Sonata because of where he is, but depending on how he goes, I could start liking Sonata. He doesn't have that Lij stink on him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But with Dave Finley, I'm expecting less short term from Dave Finley. Like, I feel like Sonata needs this win to make the impact of leaving Lij for just four guys stick more. Whereas with Dave Finley, he got to the finals of the New Japan Cup. That's a good start. Let's build on it. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Whereas Sonata, you kind of think he needs to win the New Japan Cup to show out against Okada. You can have him beat Okada. I'm not that wouldn't be too upsetting to me. But you need the New Japan Cup final win to cement the impact of him leaving Lij.
That's such a good point. I keep forgetting that just because you win the cup, that's not it. The winner of the cup goes on to face Okada.
Yep, that
which is
becomes
huge.
the main event of Sakura Genesis. Yep.
And where they're at right now, this is New Japan has done a great job. Now I'm invested in this main event, and then to see who actually gets that crack. At
Yeah, I think
because Sonata versus Okada is the sexier matchup. Like,
Yeah.
it looks better on a billboard, it looks better
Yeah.
on paper, you know.
Yeah.
But then
Dave
David
Finley.
Finley, you're right.
Yeah.
Cinderella, like not Cinderella, but
No, but I think
underdog. You know.
I think, like I said, I think Sonata versus Okada is the
I think it's my key.
yeah. Excuse me, I have to sneeze.
Yep.
Do I have to sneeze? You got that tingle in your nose, and then you talk about it and it goes away. I'm gonna sneeze in like 30 seconds, I
fine.
swear. But it's
I think Sonata and Okada.
I
I think it's the matchup.
But again, not just the matchup. I think Sonata needs it more right now than
Yeah.
Dave Finley does. You can do stuff with Dave Finley to I think the cementing of Dave Finlay as a leader of the Bullet Club
Is
is
enough.
a long-term storyline that progresses through the first half of the year, and then you can cement. And then once he's cemented, you cement him in time for the G1.
Yep.
And then that's when you have him maybe
Both
not
these guys-
run through
both
the
these
G1,
guys
but
blossom out
Yeah,
of this,
yeah, yeah.
out of this match.
you have him. Yeah. So I think Sonata is the
I agree.
right choice. And then that leads to Sonata versus Okada, Sakura Genesis.
Okay, Soccer Genesis. That's what I was going to ask you where that match is happening. All right. And that is when? No.
I can look it up real quick. Sakura Genesis is April 8th.
Okay. Wow.
So not too far of a turnaround.
Damn.
So the final day of the New Japan Cup, we have Hiroshi Tanahashi and Yoto Nakashima versus the Just Five Guys tag team of Doki and Taichi. I think you're going to give Just Five Guys the win there. You have Ryohei Iowa versus Shota Umino versus TMDK of Kosai Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr.
Okay.
I think you give TMDK the win there. You have Bullet Club of Chase Owens, El Phantasmo, and Kenta taking on Tama Tonga, Tomoki Hanma, and Tomohiro Ishii. I think,
Chase and Phantasmo there.
yeah, I think you could have Tama Tonga beat Chase Owens and be fine.
Yeah.
You have House of Torture, Dick Togo, Evil Show, and Yujiro Takahashi taking on Strong Style of El Desperado and Ren Narita, and they're teaming with Tsuki Taguchi and Toru Yano. I really think House of Torture is going to win
You
there.
say Ren Narita in that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to see him get a 1W.
yeah, that's fair. You have Los Ingonables de Japón of Shingo Takagi and Tetsuya Naito taking on the United Empire team
Oh,
of
Jesus.
Aaron Hanare and Great Khan.
Wow. Give me
LIJ.
Shingo fucking, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have Shingo over Nanari kind of get back that win, but
absolutely.
it would be hilarious to me if Aaron Hanari pins Shingo again. You have the team of Chaos, which is Hiroki Goto, Kazuchika Okada, and Yoshihashi taking on United Empire, which will be Jeff Cobb and Ozzy Open.
Wow.
Here's the interesting thing about that matchup. So at the anniversary show, it was Okada and Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi for the IWGP tag titles.
Okay.
I don't know if Okada was just being funny. I don't know if he was serious. He was asked about facing his stablemates in Chaos, and he went, "Who? Chaos who?" So
Love that.
this year we've kind of gotten a heel Okada, and it's really just I know a lot of them on the West are in the West. It's made him a lot more interesting
Okay.
to fans. But I think I said it on Twitter once going into that Noah show. It was like Dick Okada over Face Okada, and
Does
like
his moveset change?
no,
Okay.
nothing. His just
Nothing
attitude kind of changes. He
Okay.
just becomes more of a dick, and it's just hilarious to me. Because he kind of gets like a snotty attitude, and it's just a good. It's
So it's
just
more of a facial expression.
yeah,
thing.
it's
Okay.
just in kind of the things he does in the ring, and like not like a
Taunting.
move set, but like
Taunting shit.
yeah, it's a good look for Okada because it kind of Okada can get stale
Character.
if he's just being that good, doing that good guy stuff. But then he kind of gets this snobby, snarky attitude, and he just makes him a little better.
Right.
And kind of a flashback of old Okada and the Okada we originally got. So the interesting thing to me in this match, we'll see how Okada and the team of Goto and Yoshihashi work together and how their interactions
Okay.
are. Because Okada is the leader of Chaos, but Chaos is one of those factions that, like,
Who's their true number two? Do they
okay,
have one?
but so that's what I was just about to say. If you ask the fans who's in Chaos, not a lot of people are gonna know who's in Chaos.
Okada.
It's Okada, it's Hiroki Goto,
Yeah.
it's Yoshihashi, Tomohiro Ishii, Lio Rush, Yo,
Wow.
right? Because Show's in House of Torture. I always mix them up. Yeah, Show's in House of Torture. So, and Yo, and there may be a few others, but like I don't know how many people can actually list format. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm interested in seeing that matchup. The IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match is Hiromu Takahashi taking on Leo Rush.
Ooh. Should be good.
It's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be great.
Should be.
Um,
Takahashi is the champ.
yep.
Okay. Keep it there, but it should be
You
good.
think?
I don't know if Leo's ready yet, man. And I love him.
I feel like if you're gonna give Leo the title, it should be on American soil. Because I feel like that would be a fun show.
This is happening where? LA?
No, this is in Nagata.
In Japan. Okay.
Yeah, this is in Japan. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Leo wins here, but I feel like Hiromu is
I just love Takahashi,
is
man.
the guy until Kushida wants it.
Takahashi should be a stable.
The best
like,
of the
he
Super
should be-
Juniors got announced, and it's coming up, and it's gonna be interesting
Okay.
because I don't know. It's almost our anniversary
Holy shit.
because we started with the best of the Super Juniors, I believe.
Yeah, last summer. We started this around
So
May or June, I
we're
think.
So the best of the Super Juniors is coming up, but I don't
Wow.
know who's going to be in that field, and it's going to be interesting.
Okay.
But the main event is Sonata versus Dave Finlay, which we've just talked about. I'm going to lock in Sonata here, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow you with that, Sonata. But I'm gonna go Takahashi.
You're going to
Above
take
you.
Tucker.
You're
Okay.
taking Leo. Taking
I'm going to take Leo. Why not?
All right, and we're both in on Sonata.
We're both in on Sonata, which is great.
Cool.
So after New Japan Cup, we have the New Japan Impact crossover show. Just talk about that real quick.
That is
So
the multiverse one.
yeah, nothing really stands out. Really, Mike Bailey versus Will Ospreay will probably be the show stealer.
Yeah.
Jeff Cobb versus Moose could be good.
Could be good.
I feel like Moose is always unappreciated.
Oh, dude.
I always feel like nobody likes
gets
him, and then he
Better.
balls out.
He needs a mouthpiece, bro. He absolutely needs a mouthpiece.
The main
Because-
event is Josh Alexander versus Kushida, and
Love that.
it's gonna be great. It's gonna be technically sound. I just don't know how much. Like, I just don't know if.
I think it's just leveling up Alexander's wins.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who it's going to be to take it off Alexander, but Impact still hasn't figured out their main event. As we talk about Moose, right? It should be Moose. Moose should be their next world heavyweight champion. He looks it, he acts it, he plays it. He just needs someone
To
to
talk
talk
more.
him in, talk us in the building, see Moose. And that's
Hey,
not too late.
WWE, yeah, release MVP and give Moose MVP.
Bang.
I don't know why I just thought that, but that I don't know.
Holy smokes, man. What
Um,
he could do with Moose. Oof. And I was always down on him, but man, his last
Yeah,
2 or 3
the only
years
reason
have
I'd
been
watch that is for Mike Bailey
incredible.
versus Will Ospreay.
Do you like Mike Bailey? Like,
So I don't.
he just does
I don't
everything.
hate Mike Bailey.
I don't.
But I don't enjoy. He's fine.
I like this match. I don't know. I feel like I could see this on GCW. You know, like Will Ospreay on an Impact.
Did you see
why
him
isn't
get
it
Did you see
Ospreay
Mike
and
Bailey get
Alexander?
killed last night on GCW
I
by
started
Monty Slimmon?
GCW and I was so burnt from the tournament,
Okay.
man. Like, and I tried it and I'm like, I can't do this tonight, but I will check it out.
Um,
You got-
Yeah, he gets. I just saw this
She gets
clip from
mangled?
it. Dude, Masha Slamovich
Oh,
picks him up and kills him on the apron. It's insane.
We don't speak her name.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's it.
Back to New Japan, we have so Sakura Genesis will be Okada versus the winner of the New Japan Cup, and then we have Mercedes Moné taking on AZM. And after the show, after the New Japan Cup finals, they'll probably announce the full card for Sakura Genesis.
Okay.
They tend to do that, and then they'll use the shows in between to build. So we'll see how that goes. But after Sakura Genesis, the New Japan Best of the Super Juniors is going to be May 12th through May 28th, with the finals taking place on the 28th. So that's going to be good. And then April, May. Okay. And then, so after Capital Collisions in April, on April 15th,
Beautiful. So they got a
There's
couple
one
things
in
coming at us in
Washington.
April.
there's another collision
Oh,
in
they run it-
Philadelphia.
They run it like a house show loop.
I don't know. It back to back like they did last year.
Is it a show 1, show 2?
So it's it just says no, it's just two
Interesting.
shows. So those will come up. We'll see how those go.
Yeah.
Then we
I
got
always
Wrestling
think
Dontaku, which will be right before the Best of the Super Juniors. And then we've got Forbidden Door 2,
Man, so we're
which
loaded.
I was surprised that got announced.
Like New
Um,
Japan just throw like they
I
just
don't-
come in firing.
I don't. Real quick on Forbidden Door 2 because I want to do a full show on.
Sure.
I want to do I want to do a prediction show for Forbidden Door 2.
And then a recap.
And then, no, I want to do a prediction show where we predict a card, or
Yeah.
a dream card
Oh.
for us. And then I want to do a preview show, and then I want to do a recap show.
Sure.
So I want to do 3 shows on Forbidden
When
Door.
are they gonna start firing off matches? I mean,
I have no idea. Probably, probably after. I don't know what goes first with AEW.
All right,
I don't
so-
know if their
yeah.
next pay per view and then it. But whatever.
Let's smoke Tony Khan and book in fucking Forbidden Door 2, Tony, because you suck.
All right, simmer down. Okay, I don't want to get into that
All
right
right,
now.
I'm sorry. You can edit that out, but let's-
no, it's fine. I just don't want to. I have thoughts on AEW, and we don't have the volume for it right
We
now. But
You know, I will say one thing I'm loving they're doing, real quick. The doc and elevation shows on YouTube. That's what I'm saying.
okay,
That's some of the best stuff. Good.
I was surprised they announced Forbidden Door 2, and I don't know if part of me was expecting them just not to do it, or what, but I was like, it came out, and I was just like, I was surprised, and then I went, yeah, that makes sense.
Were you surprised at the way they announced it? Or
No.
the fact that they're doing it?
That they're doing it, and it's
Okay.
not, and I still stand by that Forbidden Door 1 wasn't a bad show. I think it's one of those shows that if you watch without understanding what happened going into
That's
it,
true, too.
it's going to be a better show to you.
Yeah.
But to me, I just thought that it was one of those things that they didn't like the hype that was built around it by the fans, because it's one of those things where it's 2 major companies coming together, so everybody and their mother is going to armchair quarterback it.
Right.
And when it doesn't go their way, they're going to hate on it. So it's like, to me, it was just like, all right, let's not do this in the way we did it the last time, because we don't want to deal with that again. You know,
It's a
what I
smart
mean?
move.
Right? But again, at the same time, saying fuck it, we're going to do it anyways, is again, I think, a very smart move. So
I'm always down, as much as it may get shit on, I am always down for collisions of that.
Yeah.
You know, promotions.
Right.
2 different promotions, more than 2 different promotions on the same card. I
Right.
love it.
And I-
Just like you said, don't let it overtake what AEW is doing. If they can do that,
It's
have
not
it
even-
as like
But to me, it's not even that. It's just like, to me, it's just. My problem with last year's was everybody armchair quarterbacking it and not appreciating that they worked with what they had because
true.
people were hurt.
and I was all.
I'm also a little bit bitter because I thought I had a good title for a show and then I got shit on Reddit. But that's
Wait,
that's
what?
me personally. Then remember the name for that show? What did I have? It was like
the name for our show. I
yeah,
thought you
for
meant the
our
Forbidden
show.
Door
Yeah,
name.
yeah, the Forbidden Door show
Who
we
should
did.
have read it?
Everybody. It was,
Really?
yeah, they thought it was a clickbait title, and I was like, no, it was funny to me. Yeah, because it
These
was.
people
I
talked
said
about it.
I said
Oh,
Forbidden
yeah, so
Snow.
it's actually a great title.
I called it Forbidden. The title was Forbidden Door or Forbidden Snore, and I thought that was funny.
It is,
And then
'cause
and
that's
then
exactly-
people were like, oh, it's a clickbait title. Blah blah. Blah. Anyways, I'm getting too personal.
That's
I'm
not personal.
I'm bitter.
Anyone who wants.
so-
we're far from clear.
All right.
Go ahead.
We've talked about everything. Any closing thoughts before we get kicked out of here?
No. Yeah. Wow. We nailed that.
Yeah, we nailed it.
No, we'll just have to get together and just. Any idea is when you want to do this? Like.
No, I got it.
Yeah,
So
figure it out.
April is busy. My schedule is kind of wonky, so we'll figure it out because we're also on library time.
Right.
But we'll figure it out.
Cool.
But yeah, we'll figure it out.
Because I love that. I think this is great.
This so far has been great.
Hope
So-
it comes out well on the other end. I have all the faith in you when it comes to editing because you do a great job. Seriously, like
It's the green screen I gotta take care of. We'll figure that
we're
out.
gonna-
I know
yeah,
some
we'll
smart
get
people.
Some
So.
accoutrement back there.
Yeah.
And no, you do a great job.
But I like-
everything
I like-
post production is this kid.
I like
I just come.
I like that we don't have the split screen anymore.
Yeah.
I like that it's now feels like
Not
a
having to look
conversation.
at the screen while we're talking
Right.
is actually great for me because
Do I look at the camera? Do I look at the screen? Do I?
Yeah. you
Now
know,
it's like we're talking to you
talking to
guys.
each
We're
other.
talking to you guys.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for trudging this with us. We'll see how this comes out on the other end because hopefully it comes out good. Have a good day, everybody.
See you later.